I just wanted to make a quick video kind of walking you through the experimental setup here, just so that you can kind of visualize what it's talking about in your procedure there. I won't go into too much depth because a lot of it is for you to figure out, but just so you know what kind of everything is referring to. So for part one here, we have our track set up, okay? We have what's called our speed gate down here at the bottom. You're gonna wanna make sure that that's turned on and that it's flashing and says meters per second. That means it's ready to record. Okay, so basically what we're gonna do for the first part of your lab today is take your car, okay, and you're always gonna need to start it from the same position, and you're gonna wanna not move the track around. So notice I've used some tape here for two purposes. First purpose is now it's gonna stay in the same place. That track's not gonna go anywhere accidentally, okay? And the second purpose is now I'm gonna always just line up my car, the rear tires there, with that piece of tape. And then I know I'm always dropping it from the same point, because we want to make sure it's always traveling the same distance, right? So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to let it go, and it's going to go through there, and the speed gate, sorry, will record its speed. Okay, so I start it from rest, and down it goes, and whoops, off the edge, but you can see it recorded its speed there. Okay, now at the same time as that's happening, right, someone in your group should be ready with the timer. Okay, so as soon as someone lets it go, maybe they give you a little countdown. They say, I'm gonna drop in 3, 2, 1. You start the timer, okay, and then as soon as it hits the timer gate, you stop it. Okay, so obviously I didn't do a very good job there, but I've only got 2 hands, okay? So start the timer as soon as it starts, and stop the timer as soon as it hits the gate here. And then when you're ready for another trial, this just won't collect data again until you go ahead and hit start again. And then see it's flashing, it's ready to go, so we could go and drop our car again. So this is a type of calculation, a type of experiment that, is done all the time in the real world by, civil engineers, mining engineers, city planners, things like that. If you're designing a exit ramp or a merging lane or a deceleration lane or, any number of things like that, you need to be able to think about what speed do they need to get up to, what speed do they start at, things like that, and then plan the length of it accordingly. So that's kind of what you're putting in action today with part one. Now for part two of our lab here, you can see a pretty similar setup. Part two is kind of based around the real life application of things called runaway lanes. You might have seen these on the highway, right? If usually bigger trucks, if they pick up too much momentum, too much speed, there'll be a little pullout for them that it'll change from asphalt to gravel or something, so there's some more friction to slow them down a bit better. So that's kind of the idea behind what we're investigating here. Something that, again, a real life civil engineer, city planner might look into. Okay, so of course we don't have gravel and asphalt, but we do have this nice smooth track and some paper towel that I've used to make a runaway lane here. Okay, so very similar setup though, right? You'll notice it's extended. Okay, and we need a nice flat part here because we don't want it to be still going downhill and gaining speed. Okay, and now the difference as well is I'll need 2 timer gates, one at the beginning, one at the end, because we're going to want to know the speed here, and we're going to want to know the speed here. Okay, but other than that, pretty similar. You start it up here. The other big difference is, and this is where you got to be pretty quick on the timer, so whoever's job this is, they got to be watching very closely. Okay, I would get like right down to this level and be watching very well. Okay, what you want to do is you want to start the timer as soon as the car is first onto your runaway lane, your paper towel, right? So you want to start the timer now, and then as it goes, right, it's going to continue to go along and go along and go along and go along. Okay, and you need to stop it the moment it's off. Okay, so you need to stop it the moment it's cleared that runaway lane. So it can be a bit tricky. It might take a few tries to get used to, but that's the idea. Okay, so essentially you're gonna start it as soon as it touches and stop it as soon as it gets up, right? You can see how quick that actually ends up happening. And you can adjust, okay, as you go. You might wanna lower this a bit so it's not going as quickly. But again, this is for you to try out today. So that's part 2.